so long. I make a
Right?
motion, we adjourn.
We haven't even started. I'll second.
Diane, would you consider, I know it's your last meeting, would you consider leading us today? I know you did it last time. Can you do it again?
Yeah, I'd be
Thank
honored.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody out. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Want to recognize that we do not have Councilmember Jackson with tonight, so she's not able to join us. We do have Councilmember Wilson, Councilmember Sophie Paul, Councilmember Scadden, Councilmember Joe Paul, and our youth Councilmember Sally. Thanks for being here with us tonight.
Thank you.
We've asked Councilmember Wilson if she would go ahead and lead us in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Diane?
If you'll please join with me in a moment of silence. Thank you. All right, if you please rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, Council, we do have consent items, specifically just one, the request for approval of alcohol beverage license for Sundeep Mart Incorporated, located at 3805 South Midland Drive. Council, any comments or questions relative to that? And Brody's able to answer those if you have any.
Have they not had one in the past, or is it new ownership?
New ownership, yeah.
Okay. Hearing none others, I appreciate that. Okay, do I have a motion then to approve the consent items?
So moved.
Randy, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Diane, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passed. Public comment period. If you have a public comment, any topic, please step up to the mic. Just looking for your name and your address, Kevin.
I am Kevin Homer. I live here in Roy at 5398 South, 4000 West. I asked a couple of months ago, ever since the infrastructure changed here at the city, the publicly accessible Wi-Fi access point is no longer available. Now, when I come into this building, my cell phone 4G signal goes down to maybe 1 bar. It's very, very weak. If I use my cell phone to research items that we're discussing here, makes it a little bit difficult. All I would do is ask if the council would consider discussing and maybe instructing the IT staff to go ahead and make the change to allow another Wi-Fi connections so that anybody that comes in wants to use their phone or their laptop. It is a very no-cost to low-cost option, which you know I kind of favor. If it doesn't cost us much, I think it might be a good idea for us to do it. So if you would at least consider doing that.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin.
Mayor, I can answer that if you would like me to.
Please.
My apologies, Kevin, for not reaching out earlier, but the reason why we chose to turn that off is because the vast majority of people that were trying to use that network was doing it for things that were inappropriate to use on those type of networks. And so it was really testing our firewalls and things like that. So we chose to take it down because everybody was just trying to access what you would think they would try to access. So we can turn it back on, but it does test the limits when they're trying to access pages like that.
Is it something that could be done like just for city council meetings or can you turn it on and off that way?
There might be a
or-
possibility of that. We could, yeah, we could look into that.
So when you say that, is it this room or is it like outside in
So it's,
parking
you know,
lots?
they can, yeah, you
mostly
could probably get to it to the parking lot.
Parking lot, okay.
Okay. Matt, yeah, it may not be a bad idea to consider just access for the particular meeting. that may not be a bad idea, but certainly we don't want it to, we certainly don't want it to be abused. Okay, so, okay, maybe you and Mark, you can kind of figure out how you want to approach it. Okay, anybody else have a comment? Anything? It's almost Christmas. Okay. Let's go ahead. We got some presentations. Specifically, Chief Gwen, I think you're going to share Employee of the Month with us.
They wish I was going to share it, Mayor. Thank you. But I'm actually invite Sergeant Harper up and Officer Smith up. We had our staff meeting this week, and Sergeant Harper nominated Officer Smith for Employee of the Month on our side. But we thought it appropriate to nominate him for Employee of the Month for the city, given the case and task that he handled and followed through to a resolution. So I'm going to let Sergeant Harper take over and kind of go through the nomination letter.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good evening. Come up here with me, Jared. Jared is the school resource officer for Roy High School, so just to set the stage for that. So I'm nominating Officer Jared Smith for Employee of the Month for the month of November 2023. Officer Smith began an investigation at Roy High School concerning a complaint of a 16-year-old male bringing a handgun to Roy High's parking lot and manipulating it inside of a vehicle. Coincidentally, Officer Smith had already been surveilling this student's social media accounts and observed this student post a video the day prior of him shooting a handgun out of a moving vehicle. Officer Smith quickly obtained a search warrant for this student's home, vehicle, and cell phones. During the search of this student's home, the handgun in question was located. A search of his cell phone located additional videos of him and another student firing a second handgun from a moving vehicle in a residential neighborhood in Roy. 100+ photographs of credit cards were also located on this cell phone, which evolved into this student collecting credit card numbers from his place of employment. The student was working at a drive-thru and taking photographs of people's credit cards as they were coming through. Officer Smith obtained a second search warrant for the second student's home. During the serve of this warrant, a second firearm was located and seized, which turned out to be a Polymer 80 unserialized firearm. During the investigation, it was determined this firearm was also accidentally fired in this student's home. Officer Smith took accountability for this case, diligently followed up on fraud aspects of the case, which resulted in 2 additional juveniles being arrested for multiple fraud charges. Officer Smith is continuing to follow up on obtaining investigative subpoenas and continuing that fraud investigation. In total, Officer Smith was able to arrest and book 2 juveniles for weapons-related charges and 2 juveniles for fraud-related charges. The original 16-year-old suspect is being charged as an adult. Due to Officer Smith's steadfast resolve with this investigation, I believe Officer Smith is worthy of receiving recognition of Employee of the Month. Thanks to his efforts, 2 handguns were taken off the streets, 100+ potential victims of fraud were saved from the anguish of being victimized by these juveniles. And then something that's happened just in the last couple days, that second firearm was sent to our laboratory, and it was discovered that it was also used in a shooting in Ogden in the weeks prior. So
Wow.
we're connecting a lot of things, and this investigation is still going on.
Wow.
So he's done a great job.
Yeah. Yeah, well done.
Thank you very much. Congratulations for doing that. Thank you.
Council comments, questions?
Thank you. What can we say? But we certainly appreciate your efforts and diligence. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, absolutely well done. Man, I heard about the credit cards, but the other pieces, that's a phenomenal, incredible. Thank you. By the way, council, then, do I have a motion then to approve Jared Smith, okay, as City Employee of the Month?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations. Well done. Thank you. Okay, we got a couple of action items. Specifically, we're going to need to talk about Resolution 23-30, which is a resolution establishing a meeting dates for 2024. Matt, you want to carry this conversation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Pretty easy resolution. This is something that we have to do every year. None of the dates have conflicts next year, so first and third Tuesday, same time, 5:30. Typically, in July, there's some conflicts, or with elections, and with the elections not happening next year, there's no conflict in November. So we recommend approval for this resolution to set those dates.
Thank you, Matt. Comments, council? Okay, hearing none then, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 23-30, a resolution establishing meeting dates for 2024?
So
I
moved.
We,
Diane?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Randy. This is a roll call vote. Brittany?
Councilmember Scadden,
Aye.
Councilmember Joe Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson,
aye.
Councilmember Sophie Paul.
Aye.
Okay. Resolution 23-30 approved. Thank you. Consideration of ordinance 23-15. This is the ordinance to consider amending to the Title 11, which is why Steve's all dressed up. Pretty excited. Subdivision regulation per the Senate Bill 174 requirement. Between Brody and Steve, I think both of you guys are going to share any comments or questions on this, please.
Mayor, Council, thank you. We did speak about this ordinance last city council meeting. Again, this is a mandate from the state that basically the subdivision process be changed to comply with state mandates. Steve and Planning Commission went through this in depth, provided a really good draft that was forwarded a few weeks ago. There were some comments from city council members and the mayor. We as staff, meaning myself, Mr. Wilson, and Steve Parkinson, we went through that. We made adjustments and changes that we see fit to comply with the mandates and to address the issues raised by council. At this point, we think the ordinance written certainly complies with state law, but that we did a pretty good job, to be honest with y'all. And we think it's ready for approval from the council. That being said, we do have Steve here who knows as much as anyone about this with the work that he's put in it. So if there are questions or concerns, we're happy to address them.
Okay. Thank you, Brody. Council, any comments, questions relative to ordinance 23-15?
I was just going to mention that I believe, or I feel that it's nice we reinserted some of those areas that talk about being able to do the pre-construction meeting. You know, it's not a shall, but it's a may. It's just nice to have it there in writing so people know it's available. And so thank you for reinserting that and then some of the other changes. So I appreciate that.
Okay. Other comments, questions, council? Before I go for the vote, let me just indicate a couple of things. This was big. This is a fundamental change in terms of how Roy City addresses subdivision approval. And the interesting thing is we kind of went on that journey, Steve, you were part of that 6 or 7 years ago as we started to shift a lot of the administrative responsibilities away from the council and get council out of the politics, if you will, of making decisions. Roy City was very, very well set, if you will, to be able to do what now has become a state statute, which was evident. I think the lawyers from the trust organization worked at pretty well to advise us we need to make that move. Let me just make this point, if I can. When we did Title 10, it took months and months to work through that. Definitely work sessions, a lot of work from the Planning Commission. Steve, I know you had your fingerprints all over that. That was a big, big zoning change for Roy City, and finally got approved. Title 11 was right behind it, obviously, but you were able to knock that out rather quickly. And more importantly, I think the intent of the legislators was to kind of get where we can streamline a lot of the decisions on the subdivisions, okay, so the developers can come in and get what they need relatively quickly. And I think you've done that in this proposed legislation. I say well done. Great job, certainly a great job, Steve, on your part, and Brody and Matt Wilson, thank you. I know you guys put a lot of time and energy into this thing. There was a lot of issues that need to be worked. You certainly stepped up to the task and really made the difference. I think we've got a really great document. And if it's worth anything to you, I think, Brody, you and I did this, and Steve, you may as well. I looked up and down the Wasatch Front to see if anybody had taken their shot to see if, in fact, they made the appropriate changes to their subdivision ordinances. relative to what's due on February 1st. That's when the due date is. And to be honest with you, I could not find a one. Not a one. Not to suggest is we're plagiarizing, but certainly to give us some ideas in terms of collectively how we see these changes. You've set the pattern. You set the standard. I can't help to think when the word gets out, they're going to look to your document and simply says, that's how it needs to be done. And I'm excited about that. Okay? You did well. Thank you. With that, council, if there's no more comments, I do have a motion then to approve ordinance 23-15, an ordinance to consider the amendments to the Title 11 subdivision regulation.
So moved.
Randy, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Diane, thank you. This is a roll call vote. Brittany?
Councilmember Wilson,
Aye.
Councilmember Sophie Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Joe Paul,
Aye.
Councilmember Scadden.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Ordinance 23-15, all that hard work is now approved. Perfect. We have some discussion items we'd like to go through. First one's going to be the 2024 RAMP grant projects. Matt, I believe you're going to help us walk through this conversation.
Yes, as we talked a little bit before about the RAMP grant in our budget process, they like to see that we allocate funds prior to that submittal of a RAMP grant. One of the things that we discussed about in the budget was the possibility of doing a RAMP grant down at the Aquatic Center for the toy feature, because right now we're planning on replacing the pool liner at the Aquatic Center, and there's obviously a lot of plumbing issues and things like that. The toy feature is also rusting out. It's not at the end of its life, but close to the end of its life. I think some people don't realize how old the Aquatic Center actually is. So that's the major RAMP grant that we were wanting to put in. We do have the funds already allocated in the budget for that, but there was a couple of other RAMP grants that we wanted to discuss as well. Chief Williams, first off, has been working to get a very old fire truck from Roy City back to Roy City. It's been down in Grantsfield. He's thinking about putting in a RAMP grant for the general maintenance of that fire truck. This wouldn't obviously be out there to fight fires, but it's something to show off to our neighbors and through a parade or anything. It's a 1952, I believe, fire truck that was owned by an association down at Salt Lake that they were willing to sign the title over to us, and has been put in a museum in Grantsfield for the last forever. So yes,
Operable?
they believe so. Yeah. So.
So
kind
we
of a-
purchase it for,
we wouldn't have to purchase
Show?
it, so it's just really the maintenance of
Oh,
that
okay.
that would be paid for, because then people could come and view it in the station. They could put it in the parades, things like that.
okay.
So they're wanting to do a RAMP grant for that. We obviously have in-kind matches and things that we can contribute just within our current budgets. And then also, every year, for the last couple of years, we've been doing the concert in the park. And we wanted to go a little bit over that RAMP grant to make sure nothing falls through the cracks. Brittany has been working with that for the completion report of last year. There's a few things that we need to come up with to make sure we're in compliance with the prior year RAMP grant. But we wanted to get a little bit of direction of everything with that current year to move forward with that concert in the park as well. So I'll leave that up to your discussion.
I guess my question, do we have some idea how much we're going to request specifically for each one of the units that you've identified?
I have not myself received a whole lot of feedback from the Arts Council on that. My guess is pretty similar to what
We
last
did
year
last
will
year.
be. Yes.
Okay, how about the fire truck? Do we have an idea what that?
Not very much, a couple $1,000. So it'd be a very small RAMP grant.
Okay, and there would be a requirement, you're saying is we would do a match? Okay.
Yeah, some type of match within their current budget, being only a couple $1,000, kind of like what we do with the Arts Council as well.
Okay, and then do you have an estimate what the Aquatic Center would require?
Not-
Just
I know they do. The match right now, the pool liner was $750,000.
so it's going to either, it's
So
going
we'll
to go to
easily
major.
meet the match. Yeah,
Okay.
so it'll be a major.
And I think that one's due on the 12th of January, if I remember right.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, comments, council?
Can you take the old toy and sell it or not?
I
Is it
would
not sellable?
probably not. I mean,
Okay,
there might
I was just
be
wondering.
slides or something like that we could put on the public surplus website. Once in a while, that does surprise me. Sometimes we think things aren't worth anything and they fetch some money. So like an old playground, when we inherited the old North Park Elementary School, we did sell that playground for $8,000 that somebody came out of Seattle to pick up. We were thinking the salvage value would be nothing because you can't certify the playgrounds. So yeah, there very well could be, but we'll just have to look and see.
I was wondering, is there a way to maybe maximize the request for the ramp grant on the pool toy? Maybe, is it even possible to reverse it where we match grant and ask maybe for more on the liner or something like that? I was just wondering if we could maybe maximize that, because as I recall, the liner is quite a bit of money, the toy wasn't as much.
Yes,
But
that's
if we could
correct.
somehow maximize that match, is there
Yeah,
a way
we
to
could
be
look at what
creative?
they usually give and see if that
Go for Brandon.
works.
Okay. Oh, good.
Okay.
Okay,
So
great,
you can be more
thanks.
broad and say the entire pool, not just a specific piece, or do you have to specifically say a piece?
So you can be
Broad,
enough to
nebulous.
say that it will do the liner, the
Pool
toy,
decking, tool.
Plumbing
plumbing,
and decking. Okay,
Oh, great.
Cool. Go big.
go big, really pretty, yeah, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Same size toy? Okay,
The importance of this conversation, council, so there's no confusion. If they submit the rent grant and get it approved, you still have to authorize the offset.
The offset, yep.
And they don't want to press forward and basically get all this money secured without you approving the offset, because you're the only ones that have the authority to do that. And so Matt, recognizing the importance, wants to get in front of you. If you're agreeable to what you just heard, then the intent then would be is that they can move forward, and then whatever we can get out of the ramp, perfect. Just recognize there will be a matching fund associated with these, and that also means you need to approve those.
What's the lead time, I guess, on, say, the toy? Do we know supply chain wise, is it going to hit when we need it to, or are we going to be? Do it like in the spring? Yeah.
Okay.
So are we saying we wouldn't get it in for this season, or it'd be on the tail end of next season, or?
It would be the,
Okay. Tried, okay. So also from that vantage, that rolls into another budget year if we do it.
It does.
So just that's what I was getting at.
Okay.
and then are you replacing any of the toys on the other side, the froggy and the water features? Okay, just the toy.
Okay.
Okay. So council, can we make the assumption, and that's what Matt was asking, council direction is to proceed with what you just heard? Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Then we move forward, Matt.
okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay. Matt, you're also going to talk about the Roy City Complex update and funding projections.
Yes, I do have a little bit of a PowerPoint mainly for the pictures, and then there's also numbers in there as well. So I will try not to bore everybody with it.
It's okay.
There we go.
All right, clicker's working. Okay, perfect. The first thing I'd like to draw your attention to is a study that we did back in 2018. This was a study that a company came in and did for us. I do remember this study very well because it was the date that I was actually sworn in as the Management Services Director here at Roy City. But the reason why I wanted to point this out is because you look at some of the numbers there from $1.2 million to basically $29 million. And this study didn't really go into replacing the pool deck. It did not talk about replacing the plaster of the pool. It did not talk about the boiler of the pool. It was really kind of the aesthetics of the complex to draw people there. The $28 million in 2018 numbers, meaning that today would be much more money, that was to replace the entire complex. So obviously that would be pool deck and everything like that. The reason why I wanted to just kind of touch on this topic a little bit is to show what staff has been doing, because we didn't just contract all this stuff out. When we've been doing the complex, they've been doing a lot of work themselves, and the crews have been over there working hard. But some of these numbers are quite staggering when you look back in 2018 of what it would cost for just a fresh coat of paint and do those types of things to it. The next slide, I want to talk a little bit about the initial budget back in 2023 when we were adopting the budget. We were really focusing only on a couple of things. First, the boiler, obviously, the pool deck, and then the restrooms and the locker rooms there. Right when we first started on the complex, we basically, the first hammer that hit the floor, we realized that there was a lot more issues than we really knew about. I've been trying to bring that to City Council's attention. However, the budget was never addressed accordingly. The first little bit, and you can see in that first picture, that cement there was a suspended slab that goes around the entire pool deck. The cement was only about 2 inches thick there. And then you can see on the corner, there was nowhere to put a suspended slab. There was only about 2 inches for something to go there. So we had to purchase angle iron to go around the entire pool deck, which was very costly. Also, that window you're looking at was rotted out. There was structural pillars that were rotted out that were also replaced. So interior, exterior windows were sitting on that pool deck that needed to be replaced as well. In this second photo, you can see that's that ductile HVAC work that was sitting right on that pool deck as well. So all those had to be taken down. That structure there is how that area is cooled off, though. So it goes around the pool deck and then goes up through the little holes, and that's how it breathes. So also bringing to City Council attention a little later, we had some issues in the men's bathrooms floor. That was initially anticipated to cost around $500,000 when it was first brought to everybody's attention. But basically the suspended slab was rotting out in there too. This is a picture of some of that rebar that was rusting through, both on the floor and on the top of that floor. Wanted to talk a little bit about the funding and where we came from, so you can, when you go through that funding, you can see in 2023 where we were at with the $500,000 from the city. Going down, some of the asterisks below were things that weren't necessarily, we haven't budgeted yet, but like this year we have received $200 in donations just in the front office. We're willing to put the per capita ramp grant toward it. That was for 23 and 24. So we're wanting to put some of the monies that we already have towards some of the expenditures over the complex. And then I can't see it I'm looking on a weird PowerPoint on my iPad, but I can't see that final number. But that's where we are sitting today with the budget. Going through the next couple of slides, what we have done here is I have Michelle and Brandon here to go through the different priorities if we have specific questions with it. But what we try to do as a group is just label priority 1 is something that we absolutely need to open up the complex. Priority 2, a little bit more important, obviously, and priority 3 would make it look really nice and something that we do like. But going through, again, the original thing that we talked about is replaced in the locker rooms. So obviously a lot of that has already been demolished, and a lot of work has been done in there, but there's a lot more to be done to fix everything. That's been one of the major delays, is because in the men's locker room with that floor. Pool and patio, you can go down. Don't want to go through everything unless you want me to, but you can see with the vinyl siding, the framing, the different things that we're having to pay for. to just complete that pool and patio area. A lot of the concrete on the outside in the front of the building, that's where it's a little bit more optional if we don't necessarily need that to be open, but it'd be very nice to come to the complex. That's what the study was saying, is that when you go to the facility, to be somewhere where you want to enter. And so that would make that, with a new fence and a new patio out there, to make it look more appeasing to go there. That picture right there is they took out all the plaster and then they tarped it all off, and so they were grinding it all down. Just today, later down on the slides, we got a change order just today for about $10,800. They found a couple of cracks in that pool underneath the plaster that they can fix. If we choose not to fix it, it will just re-crack that plaster later on down the road. So we're highly suggesting that we would just fix it while we're in there. This is a big area of things that don't necessarily need to be done, but something that would look really nice. Also entering the complex area, you can see a picture of what the current lobby looks like. With with all the construction, we did take out the carpet in there, but we would like to renovate that whole area so you're going into a nice facility. So you see a lot more options in the priority 3. Also, the exterior of the building, you can see a lot of stucco repairs just in that picture there that are needing to be had, and then also painting the outside of the building to make it look nicer. This is the current contracts that we have, the boiler mainly, and the pool plaster. We've had a couple of change orders already on the pool plaster with the steps and that crack that we spoke of. And last but not least, with the IT system, it's very important that we have a security system in the pool for multiple reasons. There was also discussion of a membership gate, so when people come, they can tap in. The very last slide is the funds needed. So basically, this wraps up everything that we just discussed down to the available balance that we have now. If we did the priorities in a row, if we just did the priority ones, we're looking at about $650,000. And if we do everything that we're proposing, it would be $870,000. I feel like now is a good time to be talking about this because last week we were able to see what the snapshot was as our financial reports as of June 30th. We ended the year with some money in the reserves account with about 22% fund balance, mentioning that we like to keep around 18%. And also we ended up with $6 million in the capital projects fund. Now with that being said, I'm not suggesting that we just go spend all of our money, but suggesting that Roy City is in a good financial position to be doing something like this without debt or anything like that. So,
Is any of this grantable?
one
I know
of
we
the
did receive one big one, but we've also expanded the scope of the project too.
Sure, and I think with that being said, if we wanted to go out for a ramp grant, I've heard that question a couple of times to say, why don't we go out for a ramp? One of my concerns with that is Roy City going to 2 ramp grants. I would rather choose
pools.
for 2 pools. I would rather choose which ramp grant we want because I don't know how feasible it is for them to pick both.
Whichever one brings us the most money.
And correct. So the other thing with that being said, timing is a big issue. We've been people wanting to get it done. If we do another ramp grant, it will take till March, April until we find out if we get rewarded the ramp grant. We're looking if we get going on this, we're hoping to get open by that time. So it's just thus kicks it down further. With the donations on the first page, that was one of the initial things that we talked about when Roy City gave $500,000. The citizens did give a lot of money, but that lot of money was $100,000, over $100,000, and most of that was from a couple of individuals. So there's that as well, but that did take many months to try to complete. So
Are we done with that now? We've closed
yes,
that
we
out.
did just close that out.
And we've received a check from,
Checks was in the mail like a week ago. I don't know if I haven't seen it myself. We haven't seen it yet.
So we're not accepting any more donations in that way?
We could accept them here in the office. Like we
office.
had on
Okay.
that first sheet, we had $200 that was donated this year.
Okay.
So yes, we could still theoretically take it in.
And I have a question on you were talking about the patio. Are you talking the outside patio to make it like
Correct.
grass where a parking lot is, or to just kind of expand that?
Just basically where the existing patio was. So there was a fence by
Yeah.
those doors open. We technically have to have a fence there. And that fence was also in the budget of a must-have because of liability.
Do those
But
doors
it's
ever
just-
get opened?
They do, I've seen them open myself. They do
Summer, yeah.
open them during the summer just to let the fresh air and the humidity
So we
out.
they would use the space and let the kids go outside?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I would
they
love
can.
to see
They
that.
would like that. Yeah, and that is possible.
Put some towels in the sun and,
Sure.
okay.
Mhm.
Not to shed light on other cities, but I shared something that was going around. There's a great big petition going on in Layton right now about trying to push Layton to put in an Olympic lap pool, which I can't imagine how many millions of dollars that is. So, I mean, we knew it was an old facility. We knew it was going to cost more. It's more than I was planning on investing, but I mean, I don't get the impression you can stop now.
Yeah, is this the part where I say I told you so? So I'm just saying. I called it a money pit back in the day, but again, we are too far down the rabbit hole to really turn around.
politically correct.
I'm
Sometimes you ought to
I know.
filter
I know.
yourself.
Sometimes,
Okay.
but
Anyway,
Go ahead. Any other comments?
Well,
Well-
it sounds like we're making good progress, and it's certainly better than 45 million for a new, and it will be like new. So, I think that option is a nice benefit for our citizens.
Yeah.
I think they'll really appreciate that.
and then that thing is to kind of roll back what I said. The delta difference between just the needs and where we can make it to where it's quite nice isn't that much. So, I mean, if we're gonna swing, let's swing for the fences and try to make it as presentable as we possibly can.
So
I'd like to see
you
that, yeah.
suggesting then priority 3 would be?
Priority 3, because again, the cost uplift between just getting what needs to be done versus what it can get to be nice.
It's pretty close, yeah.
There's not that much of an uplift.
Only $900,000 open
Yeah,
your checkbook.
yeah,
You're
as I say,
usually
yeah.
pretty free with money. Open your checkbook,
Yeah,
Randy.
as long as it's the end of this month, because it's triple rewards points on the credit card. So
Well, let me just ask this basic question. Michelle, Brandon, the floor was a big issue. You've now got the patch on the floor. That put in motion everything else,
yeah,
okay? Conservatively, Matt, okay, when do we think we might be able to crack that door open to do a reopening ceremony?
We would like to see in April 1st.
Okay. Does that seem realistic now? Because it's been 2 years.
and any other surprises that could come out of the woodwork or the cement work or whatever work we're dealing with? Anyway,
You know the old saying,
I know.
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, we believe we're ready to finish this up, get it done, and literally have a reopening ceremony sometime, hopefully in April. Is that what we're seeing?
That's what we
Okay.
want, yep.
Council, certainly the residents really enjoy that. It's almost been like they missed that for the last couple of years. And they still talk about, when are you going to open? And we keep promising, but we're also realists that says every time we find those hidden gems of problems, we're fixing them, getting it right. But it'd be nice to simply say that if the council gives the direction to go ahead and proceed, then we can expect to see this thing finally open up sometime around that April timeline. Okay. Then the question, if you're supportive of that, council, what Matt needs from you would be is, if you're okay with it, is a priority 1, priority 2, or priority 3, and they're on the chart up here. Are you okay with those numbers and we can move forward?
I think we need to move forward with all the priorities. If we're going to go this much effort, we might as well make it as presentable as possible, and it turns it into a new facility, actually.
And I think even priority 3 is not that extravagant. It's
No.
like bare minimum.
Yeah.
And so you really can't, like, you've done well cutting costs and cutting what we can need and what the wants are. And I'm really glad that the city has money that is put away for things like this. That makes me, that's very well done, Matt.
Yeah. Well, and I mean,
That makes this easier.
yeah, no, agreed. But again, for the record, the money that we set aside isn't necessarily for a project like this. It's if we had something catastrophic happen.
Right.
And let's say the road behind the city office building, there was a gas leak, and all of a sudden we blow out all of our infrastructure along that road. That's what the reserve fund is for. Again, I'm going to go forward with this, but again, this isn't what we should be tapping our reserve funds for. Just putting it out there.
Okay.
So I was
So,
just,
go ahead, Diane.
I was just wondering, from your perspective, Matt, is that what you see reserve funds for, or do you see reserve funds as being appropriate for something like this as well in the, in the structure of the way the city is worked up and the reason we save this kind of money? I mean, it has to be a balance, but what do you
Yeah,
think there?
Generally, it's when the hole opens up
It's-
and swallows something.
Yes.
I think it
Yeah,
just did.
the reserve fund basically is generated by, departments not spending all the money or revenue projections going in higher. Basically just like your own bank account. And I would say that the state allows you to have those reserve funds up to 35% for that type of reason. But quite honestly, everything that we do, pickleball courts to any type of parks things, that's how we've generated that one-time cash flow to pay for those things. So I would say there's an honest mix of everything. So I think that it's responsible to have a reserve fund like Councilmember Saxon's saying.
Scadden, but it's okay, Si. He'll be here next council.
Where are you,
Real
Brian?
interesting next month.
It'll be good when you're actually up here.
I can't
so that
believe
way,
I
you
just
know, it
did
doesn't.
that.
I'm the only
Thanks,
one that
Mayor.
does that, Matt.
Yeah.
I was like,
And I like
rubbing off
teasing
on
him
me
too.
there.
But yes, so yeah, a little bit of a mix of both.
Okay. Council, I've heard 3 of you say we need to move in that direction and move towards the priority 3. What Matt needs from you, are you okay with him going ahead and getting this thing done?
Priority 3.
priority 3.
Okay.
We're already up to our eyeballs. I don't know how you can stop now.
Yeah.
With that being said, Mayor, so what we need to do is the next council meeting, we'll advertise for a budget hearing. We'll have this same information, and only this same information on that budget hearing. We won't add anything else there.
Perfect.
And then we can move forward.
And I recognize, Michelle Brandon, this has not been easy for you. It's hard to sit back and watch where contractors are trying to do things but waiting on another contract. Certainly, if we're getting feedback that says the population would like to get back in there, I assume you're also seeing that pressure. It is what it is. But when I got word that you basically had fixed the floor, that was the big, big movement that needed to happen. And I appreciate I think you put your foot down and you said it has to be done. And what I looked at on the patch, it looked really good. I need to see it for a person, but I will tell you, I'm excited. I think it's time. Let's finish this project up. It looks great. Council, may I recommend, if you have not seen it, it's still in construction, but what they've been able to do to lighten it up aesthetically, just making it look very, very professional, very new, is definitely worth a visit, and even more so when you get into the other parts you want to finish off and get this thing first class before we do the reopening. So I think, Matt, you got direction to move forward. Stay on top of it. There still could be mysteries that pop up. We'll deal with those, but the important thing would be is let's finish this, okay? We're excited for you. And I think the public will be really excited for you. Okay, thank you, Matt.
Yep.
City manager and council report. Matt?
Yes, just a couple of things. I wanted to do it like, the mayor did send something out to the city council members, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it. It was basically a year-end review. Just wanted to touch that today you adopted 30 resolutions, 15 ordinances, but also another important thing that people don't see is oftentimes we get council direction. There was 49 different council directions that were given in city council meeting that the body gave staff that were also completed. Just kind of a year-end review because this is our last city council meeting. Also wanted to update you, last city council meeting, we did talk a little bit about a crosswalk on 3100 West. The conversation was about putting a traffic control device in that area or a beacon in that area, but it was given to city staff to go out and monitor how many people were going through that crosswalk during the crossing periods. There was 8 individuals in the morning and 12 people in the afternoon. I do feel like that might be a little low for the area, just because of the winter months. They were nice days when we did count, but it could be a little higher. But this is also lower than the traffic study that we did on 4300 West that also rejected the fact of putting traffic beacons there. Yesterday, I also wanted to follow up. The individual that did come to city council and talk about that, I did have a conversation with him and updated him on everything that that we discussed as well.
Thank you.
Last but not least, on December 28th, it will be Diane Wilson's farewell party. Everybody's invited. It will be at 1 p.m. in the basement, so please come out.
Brittany, would you like, thank you, Matt. Brittany, you'd like to take a moment and talk about Christmas light contest?
Yeah, so we have the first place for People's Choice ended up being Edna Johnson with the address of 5662 South, 2450 West. And then the overall first place award goes to Karina and Christopher Kinser, I believe it is, at 2089 West, 5075 South. Second place ended up being Isaac and Rachel Gold at 5774 South, 2150 West. And then third place ended up going to Jamie and Leonella, I think it is, Meza, and that is at 6045 South, 2100 West. And so they will be posted online this evening, and then their prizes will be in the mail.
Perfect. And council, I'm sure you went around when you looked, you obviously voted. There was some really great candidates participating in the contest. I will tell you, there was a bunch of them that were not in the contest that did a great job too. So well done. Roy City is beaming. I will tell you, Matt and Brandon, many people have commented, okay, when they drive into Roy, there's something on 1900 that's magical. Their words, not mine. You've decorated it perfectly. Certainly the lights around this facility are great. Showcase that, but you provide a great entrance, okay, into the city that is really making a big difference. And people are very impressed with what we do in terms of recognizing this holiday season. So well done. Couldn't be more pleased. Okay, any other comments, council, before I make one comment? Sally? Go ahead. Sally, you might want to talk.
No, go ahead.
Roy High School.
So this is just a Roy High update. So for the Bardi Wranglers concert, we made $10,700. Wow. So we did very good on that, and so that puts our total for Sub for Santa at $18,665.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Just a stewardship report from the sewer district. They put the last piece of 64-inch HDPE pipe in. They've crossed the road. It's up to the pump station. There is a piece of welded metal pipe that they have to put the final piece in. But all the plastic, the welding's done. The water is up to the effluent. It was in the contract to dredge 2,500 feet. They're thinking when it opens up next fall, they won't even have to dredge. So pump stations on track. So things are going good. It's pretty impressive down there.
It's perfect. Perfect. Anything else before I make a comment?
Just a quick, go ahead.
Yep, go ahead.
Diane, we're going to miss you.
Yeah.
You've been amazing.
I'm going to miss your research.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you for all you've done for the city, for the citizens, the residents, and yeah.
And that's a perfect
We're gonna miss
segue.
you.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the citizens of Roy for the honor of serving them on the Roy City Council for the past 4 years. And I wanted to assure them that I took their vote of confidence very seriously. I've done my very best to fulfill the commitment that I made when I was sworn into office. I've approached each topic and vote seriously, and I've determined my position and vote after much research, consultation with staff and other professionals, and citizen input. I next want to thank our outstanding city staff. Oh my goodness, when I hear of staff at other cities and the challenges that council members have, I'm so grateful for the team we have here. I appreciate their patience as I ask many questions and have explored and tried to get a taste of the worlds that they live in, the worlds that they create and sustain to provide a higher level of living experience for our Roy residents. I appreciate that they consciously work to be good stewards of our tax dollars. I thank you very much for that. I have enjoyed and appreciated the opportunity to work and interact with the different departments. Sometimes we hear preferential talk of public safety departments. However, I have come to realize all departments are components of public safety. It took me a while for that evolution and realization to come. But one without the other creates an imbalance. The three-legged stool concept comes to mind. Public Works is critical to the success of the fire and the police departments, and each are one of the essential three legs of our city stool. I see the administration department as the seat keeping the legs together and balanced. I see the Parks and Rec department as the backrest to the stool, making the entire purpose of the city and the key components that we provide more meaningful and enjoyable. Thank you to each department and their directors for the loyalty and dedication in which you serve Roy City. Thank you, Mayor Dan Doy, for the innumerable hours you spend attending meetings, interacting with staff and citizens, researching and providing information for the council and citizens. Your time and dedication are greatly admirable. I've appreciated working with my fellow council members and will miss our frequent interactions. And I wish you, the mayor and council, good health and continued drive to dedicate your time and lives to the continued representation of our citizens. Last, but certainly not least, I must thank our exceptional city manager, Matt Andrews, for his example, drive, passion, and especially patience as he mentors staff and council. I appreciate your gracious manner, Matt. We are blessed to have your dedicated, skilled, and talented leadership. I look forward to continued involvement in our city, and I'm wishing you all the very best and a Merry Christmas, which has only been augmented by our Public Works Department and the beautiful lights, which I hear about from citizens inside and outside of our city. So thank you again very much for this opportunity. I appreciate it, and I'll look forward to participating in a different way in January. Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else? I'll be brief. Diane, great words. I'm not so sure how my comment will be simple because it's about you. You have provided an interesting and very effective approach to city council. You've done, in essence, a lot of the things that I think that the voters have said. When I elect a city council, I want to get in, I want to engage, I want to be involved, and you certainly have emulated that. You've served Roy City exceptionally well. You certainly have looked at the information, asked the questions, got feedback, and really provided, I think, an effective response. Sometimes the responses were different than maybe you thought, or maybe even the majority of the council. But never have I seen in all your 4 years of service as a city council member that you have not basically looked at the information and provided a very informed decision. That was powerful. I learned as a mayor many things from your efforts, seriously. And I think I'm a better mayor today because of what you've been able to provide. But more importantly, you have spent the time dedicated to the very people who elected you to office. You felt their concerns. You certainly have thought that they basically had something to say. And Diane, you simply listened, and that's powerful, okay? You did a great job for this city, and we could not be more proud of you and your service. We're going to miss you, no question about that. Certainly, Brittany and I are going to miss because you succinctly go through all of the minutes, and you look for the issues and you provide responses. We've got some work to do to be able to make sure that we provide the best responses, but you've been very thorough and very effective in terms of your service, and we thank you. We cannot stop but thanking you for all that you've done for us. So thank you again. And if you don't mind, and this may be a little odd, I'd like to give Diane a round of applause, okay, for her service.
I appreciate that.
Thanks, Diane. Okay, with that then, do I have a motion then to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Sophie. I was getting a little nervous there. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Have a happy Christmas and enjoy the holidays. Be safe. And Diane, thank you one more time. Perfect.
Thank you very much.